I spent $15,000 to join a mastermind with a load of other business owners, all making between 50 and 100 grand a month. And for New Year of 2023, I flew to Miami to network with them all. So I wanted to take you along for the ride, show you the experience, and also show you some of the stuff that I learned as well.
America!
So on day zero, we actually drove down to London because we had to fly from Heathrow. We stayed at a crap hotel called the Ibis, left the car there, and then flew about 9:30 in the morning. I chose to take my wife and kids along so we could do half business, half family experience, and we had a mega time. It was 3 days of each. Now, I'm not a big fan of flying, so you won't see much footage from the flight, but we had a good time. I was actually asleep before takeoff, which is great, and we landed about 3 p.m. Miami time. After that, bit tired, bit jet lagged, we had a few drinks, had some food, and then went straight to bed because the mastermind was starting the very next day. So on to day one, the first day of the actual mastermind. Now, the mastermind itself is headed up by Brian Moncada. I've got a lot of respect for Brian. He's got a great personal brand. He's very generous with his time, his money, and the information that he gives away. And these are the exact people that I wanted to surround myself with coming into 2024. So we met at about 8 a.m. in the morning, met a few of the guys who I've been speaking to online, obviously met Brian, his wife, and some of the team as well, all absolute legends. We had a few photos taken in front of the signage and stuff, and then we went into the main room where we started to get into the day. And Brian kicked things off by talking about how powerful personal brand is.
What's the one thing I can do right now in my business that can make everything else easier or unnecessary? And I realized for me, it's building the personal brand even bigger than what it is right now.
I was the only person in the room who relies 100% at the moment on organic marketing. Most of the other business owners inside there relied on paid ads, and therefore I believe it's a bit more transactional. But Brian's been a master, and the reason I bought from him and everyone else did, of cultivating a really strong personal brand, which is what I try to do with my content. He talks about how personal brand has longevity, whereas ads, again, very transactional, and the importance of putting yourself out there and letting people know the real you, because I believe that's the real differentiator. So he talks about that, and then we got into some amazing speakers. The first was none other than King Keto himself, Brandon Carter, 1 million or over 1 million followers on Instagram, and he helps fitness business owners build their own personal brands and make a load of money whilst doing it. He talks a lot about the journey between 6 to 7 figures and how it isn't actually throwing in a load of new things. What really matters is doing the things that you're already doing better and dialing in the processes. He talks a lot about goal setting and how a lot of people have the wrong goals.
I've seen people set goals that are impossible. Right? They want to go on 8 vacations, right? But they also want to 10x their income. Those goals, they work against each other.
And a couple of things he said that really stuck with me was, firstly, people just don't understand the effort that is required to actually achieve something significant, and they set the bar far too low. And he said a quote, something along the lines of, amateurs practice until they get it right, professionals practice until they can't get it wrong. Then he went on to talk about time management and how your whole day should be in your calendar. Every successful entrepreneur should know exactly what they're doing at any given time. Yes, you'll have reactive blocks in there, but what are the main things you need to do every day that are actually going to move the needle? The one-off tasks aren't necessarily the most important ones. It's the consistency that matters, because if something's not in your diary and you are not dedicated to showing up and doing it and have attached yourself to doing it at a certain time, you're going to be tempted to make excuses, and that's where consistency is going to fail. He then went on to talk about the fact that people associate pleasure with the wrong things. They need to reframe their enjoyment, and this hit me quite hard. What people think they enjoy is actually just escapism. Whether that's drinking, whether that's drugs, whether that's pinning all your hopes on a holiday that's coming up in a few weeks' time. All they're actually doing by doing those things is escaping reality. So you need to create a life that you're actually happy with and work that you're actually happy to do. And that means you probably need exposure to different things in order to broaden your horizons. You probably need to change the people that you hang around with, your environment, and definitely your attitude and approach to business too. After that, the next speaker was a guy called Jeremy Haynes, and he used to be head of digital marketing for Grant Cardone, believe it or not. So he knows his stuff. He lives about half an hour away in Miami, massive house, loads of cars, and has no problem talking about money. And as soon as he started speaking, it hit me. I've literally never been spoken to like this. The conviction that he has, the way that he speaks, and the way that he talks about money absolutely blew me away. So as soon as I got home, I actually invested into his mastermind, which was $24K in dollars. and I'll be in that for a year. The reason I've done that is because I want to expand my money mindset. I thought I had a good money mindset, and I still think I do, but it's nowhere near on the level of players like him and the people that he surrounds himself with. So I want a piece of that. Therefore, after only seeing him speak for 45 minutes, exchanging a couple of messages on Instagram, I hopped on a call with one of his sales team and paid $24K to join his 12-month mastermind, which is called the Inner Circle. So I'm really excited to get into that. Jeremy talked about some really, really good things. It was a lot around the exposure and what you expose yourself to. Most people set their goals too low. They normalize very low standards of behavior, and that could be money or other things too. But you need to make the big number that you envision a small number. Whether that's a 5K month, a 20K month, a 50K month, whatever that next level is for you revenue-wise, don't normalize it. Make that the lowest of the low and aim a lot higher. So he asked everyone to look inward and question, what would you need to do in order to make that attainable? And for me, that's belief in a bigger number, it's more traffic, and it's a more scalable offer. So straight away this got me thinking, and by the end he was gone faster than I could get to have a chat with him, but I wanted to tell him in person that kind of blew my mind. And you'll notice a lot of the things that I'm touching on here, it's nothing tactical. This is how Brian sort of framed the whole day. This is all up here. It's all a mental game, and who you hang around with, the environment that you're in, and that positive attitude that you've got to have coupled with resilience. Jeremy finished off by saying, who you talk to on a day-to-day will shape everything. So that ties into what I just said. Next up, the third and final external speaker for the day was an English guy called Mark Dharma. Now, Mark's amazing. He's an ex-performance coach for the likes of Sam Ovens and Ty Lopez, who were both massive names in the info marketing space. So I was really interested in what he had to hear about helping them dial in their habits and sort of see what was successful. He talked about planning tomorrow today, which is something I already do, so you plan a day ahead, but he talked about writing it down every single day. Every successful entrepreneur that he's ever worked with writes things down. They don't just use digital. He also mentioned planning your days off and making sure that stuff's scheduled in. So it's a recurring theme throughout all the speakers. They're talking about time management, but making sure the days off are planned as well as the days that you are working too, which is something I've never thought of. He then went on to say the most important thing that entrepreneurs need to improve is their sleep. Sleep matters the most, and I'm terrible for sleep because I love working so much. And he said, yeah, you can have all the hacks, the mouth tape, the nose strips, the cold mattress or whatever, but the best advice he has for everyone, again, it's the basics, but people don't do them. No phones in the bedroom and going to sleep at the same time every single night. Now, I tried to do that a while ago and I couldn't do it. So what I found that if I regulated the wake up time, so I got up at 5 a.m. every single day, that would eventually lead to me falling asleep at an earlier time, which definitely did work. Talked a bit about eating the right things and meditation, which are both things that I think everyone should partake in some way. But the main takeaway from Mark's talk was something called surge scheduling. Making sure you've got a balanced schedule, making sure you're blocking your time, and making sure that you're working on the important tasks, what he calls needlework, or what I call MITs, most important tasks, at the right time of day. So don't do energy draining tasks during your peak performance hours. He then went on to talk about this needlework and how people like myself who've got kids who like to get up early can actually get a load of work done before the kids even need to go to school or before they even get up, providing we focus on the needlework first. And needlework is essentially that task that really moves the needle. So this was the biggest takeaway for me. I get up at 5 a.m. already, but I couldn't tell you what I'd do during those hours. So I have now planned into my schedule needlework, and I identify that the day before. So I know the minute I get up, cup of tea, I read a few pages of my book, and then I'm straight in with the most important task of the day. After Mark's talk, we wrapped up and talked about these biggest takeaways, and it was interesting to see how different people actually took different things away, because some of them I didn't think were relevant to me, where some of the stuff I said wasn't relevant to other people. Really powerful being in a room with people who are just slightly ahead of you in business. That night, we actually headed to a cigar lounge. I'm not a smoker of cigars, but I did have a couple. It was called the Empire Cigar Lounge, downtown Miami, and Brian paid for the whole thing. Drinks, and also everyone's cigars, which was so kind of him. I offered him money, he wouldn't take it. I had a great chat to him about getting onto LinkedIn. He's asked me to come and do a presentation in the next Mastermind, which is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to do that. But had a really good sort of social time with these people that we'd spent a whole business day with and people that we've been speaking to online for a few months as well, and forged some relationships that I'm definitely going to take into 2024 too. Day 2 was sort of more of the same, but it was Brian and his team breaking down the more operational side of the business and how they look after clients, how they focus on getting the right results and the systems and processes, which is absolutely outstanding. But that night we headed out to the other side of Miami, to the beach side of Miami, and had a massive dinner. Again, Brian paid for everything. I was lucky enough to sit next to him. Amy and the kids were there, my wife and kids were there alongside his wife, and we had a great chat, a really good chat about what the plan was for 2024. And it was interesting because his plan was exactly the same as mine. Saying no is the word for 2024, okay? Eliminating stuff. I spoke to him again about adding LinkedIn on as an extra platform. He said he'd consider it. We also talked about the sleep thing, and he said something like, you should have 2 rooms, a sleep sanctuary and an optimized office, and they never cross. You don't take the laptop into the bedroom, don't take the phone into the bedroom. That stuck with me, alongside finding out a couple of apps that he uses and tips and tricks and some of the more tactical stuff that he uses to manage his time, which was great. Stand-up guy, and this was just such a good experience to be a part of, but it didn't end there. So on day 3, most of the people in the mastermind went to Muscle Beach and did a workout. I'd spent 2 days away from the family, so we decided to go shopping. Where are we going today, baby? There's some shops in Brickell. We need some Crocs. I want a Miami Heat jersey.
Check out some nice sneakers.
Check out some sneakers. Uh-oh. It's going to be an expensive day. I don't feel like we spent that much money yet, though.
Chanel.
Amy wants to go to Chanel. Chanel. First, top trumps. Picked up a pair of Yeezys. Always wanted a pair of these. Got our family some trainers as well.
Go to some shops and spending money.
Think Jumbo or myself, but you don't want to make one of the full scroll.
And I saw these delicious Air Max 1s, picked them up too. And then because we had something special to do that evening, I decided to invest in some real nice shoes because I needed something to wear with a tux. So I got my hands on these Christian Louboutins, never seen them before, boat shoes, not really my style. I love the red bottoms, got a couple of pairs of them. Look at that though. Anyway, the kids then decided they wanted to go to Target, which is a massive store in America. So we went there, got an Uber there, got chatting to the guy, and I left my bag in the car. You're not gonna guess what's just happened. So we got an Uber to go to Target, take the kids to Target, and I left my bag with my camera, money, loads of other things in the Uber. Tried ringing the Uber driver, he didn't pick up. Then Uber got in contact and said he searched the car. No, there's nothing in there. So I was gutted because I left my camera with all the footage I captured, all my cards, and about $7 in cash in my bag in this guy's Uber. And apparently he didn't have it. Then I remembered I had an Apple AirTag in the bag. So we tracked it to somewhere about 15 minutes away. Bit of a rough spot in Miami, so I'm there getting ready. We bumped into the best Uber driver I've ever encountered, Gianni G, who said, yeah, it's a pretty rough area, but we can go and get it anyway. So I'm guessing that another passenger had grabbed the bag and just taken it with them and not said anything, because this taxi driver seemed like a pretty stand-up guy. I was hoping I wasn't going to run into a load of people with guns that had nicked my bag in a park, because that's what it looked like, but Gianni took us there. We drove to right near the spot. There was a McDonald's sat in the middle of where we parked and the actual spot itself. So Gianni went to the toilet, he told me wait there. I couldn't wait. I looked around the corner. I saw the Uber driver's car. So I ran over, opened his car door. He's like, oh, I've been trying to get hold of you. I was like, grab the bag. He's like, no. Anyway, we've just been across the whole of Miami chasing crooked Uber drivers. And Uber have just messaged and said they're not giving me a refund. What do you think about that? But Johnny was there. We got a loyal Uber driver. He had my back.
Yeah, we're just comebacks.
Crazy. Anyway, long story short, I got my $7 back. Most importantly though, I got the footage back. I got this camera back, which meant the most to me. So screw Uber and screw Pablo, who tried to steal from one of his customers. He was definitely lying. After that, it was time to go and get ready for the New Year's Eve party because Brian, surpassing expectations as always, had rented out the top deck on the biggest yacht in Miami for us all to go and party on and have an open bar. So we met at the hotel, had a couple of drinks, again, just got chatting. I was telling some of the guys about the Uber episode earlier on in the day and people were laughing. We got an Uber straight to the venue, blasting out some music, getting ready for a really good night. Then we arrived at the yacht and it was massive. It's like nothing I'd ever seen. We went out, watched the fireworks, celebrated New Year's Eve, And then that was the close of the Mastermind. I made some real good friends in it. Enough respect to Brian and also the other speakers and all of his team. He said at the start, this isn't going to be a place where there's any ego. Every single person I spoke to was respectful. They openly talk about money, which I'm quite a fan of. There was no ego attached to any of it. You know, they could really remove the emotion and split the emotion and logic apart, which is exactly the type of people I want to surround myself with. So after that, we went to another hotel called the Betsy. It's right in front of Miami Beach. It's on the other side of Miami, so about 20 minutes away in an Uber. We took the family over there, did a bit more trainer shopping that night, checked in. It's actually a hotel where like the Beatles have stayed and Bruce Springsteen, I believe. Really, really nice. A lot older than the downtown part of Miami, but we chilled out at the pool, had a bit of a swim. At this point, checked my phone. One of the team had made a 4K sale for us, so this was the 1st of January. We're walking in, I don't know what time it was in the UK, but we had a brand new client straight off the bat, which was absolutely fantastic. After that, we had a look around. Yet again, stumbled on a trainer shop. Let me tell you, the trainer shops in Miami are like nothing in the UK as far as anything I've ever encountered. They are absolutely massive. They're like an experience. They've got figurines, they've got all the shoes wrapped up singly, and you have to actually go and request the shoe to see if they've got it. They don't have the prices on them. Some of them are really expensive, like upwards of $500-600. Clearly I'd spent enough on trainers already, but it was great to have a look around. The kids really enjoyed it. Everyone got a pair of trainers out of the trip as well, which was cool. Everyone got Nikes, different kinds. We've got Jordans, we've got Air Force Ones. Amy got some Jordans as well, so that was cool. Day 5, again, was all about the family time. So we chilled out on the beach for a bit. We then rented some bikes and rode up and down the beach, which was great. Went down the pier, looked at some fish, just chatted with a few people. It was great to talk to some of the locals. And then my wife's sister actually works for Virgin, so she turned up so she could get on the flight with us on the way home. It was great to chill around the pool with her for a bit. And then we decided 5 minutes away, it would be criminal if we didn't go to the old Versace mansion and at least have a drink. We wanted to go for food, but they couldn't fit us in. So we went there for a drink. It was absolutely ridiculous in cost, and you know what, I wasn't too impressed by any of the service. You know, you had to go up to the bar. I would expect to be waited on hand and foot for the amount we paid for like 5 drinks. So we had one drink there, and then we went to a restaurant called STK, and that is when I think I got COVID or had COVID. I felt absolutely horrendous. The steak was amazing at STK, but I had to go back to the hotel and get into bed. I was not in a good way. Overall, check out the Versace mansion for a drink. I didn't taste the food, but the mansion was nice, but probably wouldn't go there again. And don't get COVID when you're on holiday. Then finally, day 6, we had another chill around the pool, did a couple of bits in the morning, went and bought a couple of other things, got myself a Miami Heat basketball jersey, and then it was time to fly home. So we went to the airport, met up with Amy's sister again, who was gonna try and get us into first class, but she couldn't. I actually met one of the guys from the Mastermind, Wolf, who is an absolute legend. Got a picture with him, I had a great chat with him. He's only 23, really dialed in mindset, you know, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, but still gets involved, makes a lot of money with his agency too, and it was just good to actually see someone randomly at the airport too. I was nervous about the flight home, but it was actually smooth as hell. Amy's sister gave my daughter her red Virgin jacket, and I was actually going up and down the aisles, like offering people sweets. It was really cute. And then it was time to land after, I think, what was 8 or 9 hour flight, and go back home. Now, I love being at home. Home is probably my favorite place to be, but there were some major takeaways from this trip that I just want to recap, because changing the environment was such a big thing for me. It was really important. Firstly, the fundamentals matter more than anything else. Nothing else matters. All these fancy bells and whistles and tips and tricks and hacks and tactics might serve you in the short term, but if you're not relying on a firm foundation, a firm base of fundamentals, stuff is going to go wrong. So it is all about just dialing in the basics. The second thing was that a load of these people didn't drink, or if they did, it was very infrequent. So I'm going to wildly cut down on my drinking. Someone actually said to me a while ago, like, you could be so much richer if you just stop drinking, because I do drink heavily some of the time, most weeks. That's my focus for 2024, is absolutely minimizing alcohol. Thirdly, getting up at 5 a.m. to do the needle work, the most important task of the day, and actually knowing what that is before you go to sleep. So you wake up and you are ready to go. That is hopefully going to be a big game changer for me. And then I went and planned my whole year out. What dates were associated with certain milestones, when I wanted to achieve things by, on what were the non-negotiables, you know, the family time, the trips, the birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. So I've stuck that all into a document and I'm ready to take 2024 head on. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you got something from it too. Hopefully you enjoyed the sights and stuff around Miami, and I will catch you in the next one.